Good morning, everybody. My name is Deborah Byrne, and welcome to this week's Facebook Live. And this week I'll be talking about creativity and why we should encourage not just ourselves to do it, but also our children. So you can check out this week's blog. It's at www.DBpsychologyservices.com. So creativity. For me, creativity is part of self-care. It's part of our basic self-care. And why do I say that? It's because we need to engage both sides of our brain. For a lot of us, we think of business. If we're business people, we think of, just engaging the logical side of our brain. And we fail to remember that if we also engage our creative side of our brains, we're going to boost a lot of things that are of benefit to us in the business world, in our jobs, in not just as leaders, not just as entrepreneurs, but just in the job that you do on a daily basis. And also as a parent, it'll also help you as a parent. Having one side as being the more dominant, and I was like that, and I've spoken about that in the blog, that I was like, I had one side of my brain, I'm going to try, one side of my brain had become too dominant, and that wasn't very good. It really isn't good. It wasn't good for me, it wasn't good for my kids, it wasn't good for business. So creativity then, getting that creativity led me to have a better life-work balance. And I always emphasize life-work balance rather than the opposite way around. And why, I'm going to talk about that now in a second. So as I said, self-care is extremely important for creativity is extremely important for self-care, but it's also extremely important for reducing your stress levels. In this day and age, children, and we are seeing it younger and younger, are getting more stressed, more burnt out. The levels of depression and anxiety and stresses we are putting our children under. And I was only having a conversation yesterday in a health food store about somebody with this. The amount of people, parents coming in and looking for remedies to help their children, to take something to help them reduce their stress has exploded. And that was very frightening, because there are so many natural ways we can do that. And one of those ways is to use creativity. Most people think of creativity as just, music or being very arty, and they don't think that creativity can be so much more. And I do go into that in the blog, so do check that out, what I mean by creativity. We can find it in so many ways. As I said, maybe that game of golf, maybe that, maybe that art class, maybe, you don't have to go out and sing. You don't have to, you're just singing in your car, things like that. There's a whole range of things you can do that is creative, that will help get the juices flowing. Lots of good habits. If you're trying to replace a bad habit, great way to do it is to put in the new habits, put in new things, and that is putting in creative things. Trying night classes with a creative angle rather than just a business angle, or using, an academic, if you like, that more mathematical, scientific angle, to use the other side of your brain and to engage that is better for you. And it'll help you reduce your stress. So what else will it help you do? It'll help you think better. Now, when I'm talking about thinking better, in terms of management and, if we're talking about leadership, if we're talking about working in the workplace, or even just as human beings on this planet, we are going to have to think smarter. We're going to have to think better. Creativity can help you with that. They can help you come up with more original ideas. It helps with thinking outside the box. It helps improve your leadership skills. It helps improve your flexibility and your reaction times. So it's not just your physical flexibility, but also your mental acuity and mental flexibility. So, if that alone was to get you to promote creativity with yourself and with your child, then I would say go for it. But what about also like helping them to build their self-confidence? You're giving them things that they can do and that they can succeed at outside of the academic, outside of what we consider the academic. We have moved away, I think, from the music and the art too much, and not considering those to be academic. So, if we can promote that, we're promoting and building their self-esteem, and we're building their self-confidence. That game of football that they want to do, the game of rugby, any sort of sports, even individual sports, it doesn't have to be team sports, they're all creative. They're all, getting them away from the science and maths area, so much. And we are then they're doing something they love, and they're boosting their self-esteem, they're succeeding. And therefore, that has a knock-on effect at what they're doing in school. It'll have a knock-on effect also for you too in your workplace. It boosts productivity, as I said. It also will lift your mood. Now, we have to be very careful of this. It reduces our stress levels, yes, because we're taking time out for something for ourselves. But it also cuts your chances of getting depression, and it will also help reduce stress and anxiety. Okay, so if you've got an anxious child, if you are anxious yourself, doing something creative, and particularly if you can find something that is a distraction, something that's going to take your mind off, something that you can get into the flow of, you can put your whole focus on, of course it's going to reduce your anxiety levels. So think about that. Think about something creative that you can do that will focus. Knitting is something, following a pattern. Art, we can get very engaged in art. That is what I use myself. Something like that will help us to reduce our anxiety levels. It will help reduce your child's anxiety levels. Getting out and kicking a ball, playing a game, they've got to focus on that. If they're focused on the skill, if they're focused on what they're doing, then it takes the focus off what's going on up here and helps to calm down the mind. Okay, and that's what we're aiming for, is to calm down the mind. And of course, that in turn will empower us. It helps to improve mobility and dexterity and our mental skills. And all of that is going to help us as we age. So, there is high levels of depression now we're seeing among older people. We do see it among the younger crowd, and then you kind of have a little bit of a gap. And then over 50s, over 55s, we are seeing increases in depression because they're changing their lifestyle, and, they may not have thought about retirement. They may not have thought about things that they want to do for retirement, and it is leading to a lot of depression. It is also leading to increases in addictions, alcohol addiction in particular, and drug addiction, as in prescription addictions. So, this keeping us mobile and dexterous and mentally flexible as we age will also, of course, help with chronic illness. Particularly if you're talking about Alzheimer's and dementia, and we don't want to go down those routes. None of us do. We probably know somebody that has those diseases, and we want to keep ourselves active, because the longer you keep active and the more you feel younger, the better it is going to be for you. We're seeing that in what I think is called the baby boomer generation. We're seeing them working longer. We're seeing them, doing things more. They're pushing that ceiling out for all of us to see that you can remain healthy, you can remain active, particularly in the arts. If you look at the arts, it's the one place you'll see the over 70s striving, and making so many headways in what they do and what they work at, and keeping themselves, fit and healthy. And they are throwing aside that classical image we have of old age. So hopefully I have convinced you that creativity is the way to go, not just for ourselves, but for our children. And I will talk to you all next week. I'll be talking about substance abuse in teens. So that blog will be out, of course, on Monday. And I will thank all my regulars as usual. Deirdre, hi Deirdre, good morning. And Colette and Kim. And I know Jennifer also tunes in every morning, every Saturday morning. And I will see you again next Saturday morning. So thank you all for listening, and goodbye.